Hey everybody, welcome back. We're the Bunny Hog Farmers. My name's Tyler Janin. I'm here with my co-host Dallas Leduc, and we have a guest on the show today. Many of you know him as a South Sask Farmer, or his real name is Nick Moreau. How you doing today, Nick?
Fellas.
I'm exceptionally good today. The wind is finally down. I don't have a busted semi piled up at the bottom of a loading ramp, so I'm even happier than I was 2 days ago. So nothing but up from here, I say.
Yeah, you sent your wind here though, so
You're used to me. Majority of my wind heads east, so enjoy.
well, hot air rises, I guess. So
But I'm honored myself here to have Nick. I followed Nick on YouTube for many a years. I watched him start off as, I think I started watching your videos, Nick. I think you had 12 or 1,300 followers when I come across your channel there. So I've enjoyed watching you grow from the little bit of stuff you had and some antiques to getting to be pretty modern day farmer and getting to show the world how it's done. So I appreciate you showing the world how we do it in Saskatchewan.
well, I don't know about modern, but newer than the 80s, I guess, and most of the stuff was when I started with the videos, but
Well, you're up to a Seed Hawk and an 8010 and a self-propelled sprayer and Rome wasn't built in a day, but you left the 80s and you jumped into the 2000s and you basically skipped the 90s.
that's all I said. It's always kind of funny, like especially the 8010 and the sprayer when I got them. I was like, holy, a guy's moving up in the world, and then you sit in it for a minute and you go, this is a 2007. This bloody thing's almost 20 years old. But then you go and get into the other ones. I didn't really skip the 90s. The 9600 and the 2188 were out of the 90s. So,
Oh yeah.
but
One
yeah,
advantage you got over that equipment, Nick, over a lot of this new stuff is your payments are much smaller, and I'd presume most of it is already paid for, unlike a lot of this newer stuff that a lot of us are running already.
that and pre-emissions. That's my big one on everything. So,
You just need to know a good tractor hacker like I do.
well, I got the McCormick done. That's why I said the best thing that ever happened to that tractor was getting deleted. So,
That's a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. That's a conversation we need to have another day. That how much money is spent on deleting these tractors to make them run more efficient and better and consistently.
yeah.
But I think we got to lead into a little bit of more of your history there, Nick. How long you been farming, and then just kind of give us a little play-by-play on how you got started and how you got to where you're at now.
I was about 14 when I rented the first half section from my grandpa Henry. He had, well, obviously my mom and my uncle, and uncle was not, well, he was into farming, but the oil patch got a hold of him, and that's where he went. And so grandpa was kind of wanting to slow down. He'd had purebred Charolais cattle for years, and he'd sold off the last of his cows that he had, and he had that half section of grain land he was doing organic. And I thought about keeping it as organic, but there was so much bloody bureaucracy and paperwork involved with that. I told them they could stick it where the sun doesn't shine, and I went conventional farming. And it was always kind of funny that first year. I just did it with the money that I had. I never did a credit line or anything, so I opted for chemical instead of fertilizer, and the crop was so-so. And the next year I fertilized the heck out of it, and Grandpa was out with his 750 Massey that he had helping combine this wheat, and with his organics, you'd see 20s, 25, and while that wheat was going just north of 50, and just how amazed he was to actually see those amount of bushels coming in. So
They say that first year in land, after it's been organic and you put fertilizer to it, that first year it really kicks hard, and then it bleeds off and takes a few
Yep.
years for it to come back. Did you see that there?
that's what I was gonna say. Like, I mean, well, I was 14 and I'm 27 now, so I mean that's been how many years? What, 14 years ago.
13, yep.
13 years ago. For 10 years, that land there versus the stuff that I got from Grandpa Guy at home here that was always conventional farmed, that stuff was always at least 20 to 30% less production than what the stuff at home here did. And even to today, there's a spot out there, there's 80 acres, I don't know what's different about it, but that place is like a nitrogen sink. You can fertilize that until you're blue in the face, and it doesn't make any difference. It's just a perfect line on that corridor.
We got the same with some land that we own too, south of the yard here. There's an old yard there, in that farm. And there's about 25 acres straight south of the barn. And I think they probably must have baled straw off that for 70 years straight. And even now, we've had that since the 90s. As soon as I go into that area, the yield drops off 5, 6, 10 bushels an acre, and we've raised the entire field up over the years, but you can still tell that one spot is just not that good. I mean, it's still good, but the rest of the field just does better. I think that organic, sometimes they've gotten really hard on that soil, and I don't know, we're improving the whole farm, but just that hasn't just kept pace with the other stuff.
Like, I'm not real big on organics. I know when it's done right, things or whatever, you can still get a crop, but I know Grandpa did it pretty good because he did it in rotation with the cattle. It wasn't just grain, and summer follow. He would grow alfalfa and clover for a couple of years for hay, obviously, for feed, and then he would break that, and he'd do 2 crops. He'd usually do oats or wheat, and then it would get passive summer follow, and then that next year he'd do a crop on it again, and then it would go back into hay. So his weed control and everything, like, it was never polluted. The only thing I know he had to fight with quite a bit was the tansy mustard, but it's not like I've got neighbors around here that half the country's sowing down to dandelions because that's all that grows out there, and they cultivate it till all the clay's on top of the hill. But like I said, that's not the right way of doing it, but it's like it said, Rome wasn't built in a day, so everything starts somewhere and keeps getting better with time. So
yep, your farming practices have gotten better. I mean, not saying they were bad to begin with, but they just only got better with technology. And your YouTubing has gotten better with time. I mean, that's just I hope, folks, that this podcast gets better with time. Can't get any worse.
You gotta find your niche, like I was telling Tyler there before. I mean, whatever. I may as well say it here. Like, you try to keep things clean, and kind of correlates back into my channel there. I know at first I wasn't swearing or anything, and the one day I kind of got set off by a header that wasn't cooperating, and had a little bit of a rant about something that happened with the government too, and that video there was one of my highest viewed ones, and I kind of just stayed with that same tell it like it is and don't sugarcoat it, and right from there things really, really took off. So I had a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's nice to hear someone on here who talks like a normal person, who talks like how I talk," right? So
yeah. Well, my brother-in-law is a big fan of yours, and then he said, when I was telling him that I know you and I've talked to you, and he's like, "Is he like that in real life?" I said, 100%. What you see in his videos is 100% Nick. But just for the little bit of audience that Tyler and I are trying to aim for, we thought we're just going to have to keep this now, under the old PG rating. So that's why we appreciate you having to come down to our level, Nick. We do appreciate it.
I'm doing my best not to use too many sentence enhancers for you. So,
what was the one thing that made you make the shift and want to start making YouTube videos?
Well, I was just kind of fed up with how many people were so ignorant to knowing where food comes from. They just think of a farmer, there's those greedy sons of bitches, they're always whining and crying, and boo-hooing and blah, 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 but, they have all this land and this and that and the other thing, but they have no idea of the nights you don't sleep from stress or work or calving. Like Tyler will know, 40 below and you're calving. Well, you're not in the house. You're out there in that barn. And I mean, I won't say I'm out there as much as other people, or like I know Amanda here puts in a lot of time out there too doing that. But I don't know. One day I just got mad. I thought, you know what? I'm gonna video, a regular little farm. Not these giant 50,000 acre, half owned by Chinese farms that everybody sees all the time, and what draws the stereotype, right? And
Exactly.
Figured if I can at least teach one person, like this is how it really is, maybe I'll have helped that way, right? So.
And I think you've made a difference. I've seen in some of the farming papers, like the Western Producer, you've actually been interviewed by them, and they had a small article about you in the paper one time.
There's that one, the Mooseman paper, and all the little small town papers. I've been in a few of them. And, I have been invited to do other things too, but I'm not a get up and talk in front of people like Quick Dick McDick can do. I'd get up there and I'd freeze. Like, I can't do that. Well, I've been invited to speak at things like that, but I can't do it. So, but yeah, I mean, if I could, I'd love to, but I wouldn't get invited to another one after. So, but no, I don't know. That was just kind of my how I got started on it. I mean, I watched Northern Farmer there, old Tyson, a lot, and I really liked how he did things there in his videos too. You don't need $1 million setup with GoPros and camera crews and everything. I do everything off my cell phone, from editing to videoing to uploading, so you don't need anything too highfalutin to have something. I mean, you got to put a little bit of time into it, but it is less time than what I thought it would be in the same breath too to do it. So.
Well, like you told me before, you can YouTube pays a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. At least it makes enough little money. You don't need an off the farm job when you're at your regular, your on farm job. So a little bit of money doesn't hurt that way, I don't think.
No, I mean, like I said, I'm not a big channel by any means, but it's almost the equivalent to what I was making when I was working for the town as a maintenance man. So, I mean, I'd much rather be putting in that 8 hours a day here instead of having to go to town and work for people that don't appreciate me in the first place. So
everybody in town who thinks they're your boss just because they're a taxpayer.
I enjoyed the work, but I mean, we don't want to get too political, but I'll just say it was the council of the town is the whole reason I quit that gig. So no one knows the town in question. So, but
no. And speaking of that, Nick does appreciate his privacy. He doesn't say where he lives and whatnot. And I presume this goes for Dallas. It goes for me. If you find out where we live, please don't show up to our homes. Like, it's where we live. It's where we work. It's where we're raising our families. We won't appreciate somebody just showing up at random saying, "Hey, I heard your podcast," or "I seen you on TikTok."
Well, I mean, we do charge a commission. It's $10,000 per head, and you have to put in a day's work when you get here. Like, if you want to come out, you're gonna get the full experience. So you might be berated, you might be yelled at, but it builds character. So.
So far, I've been lucky. The only one that's ever shown up at my house is Travis Hildebrandt. But I gave him directions, too, I guess. So.
With, Tyler and Dallas, Dallas has already experienced it, but everybody knows you, and just like your name there now, you're out in public. That's the kind of the strangest feeling. just getting parts or something, or you're in Princess Auto and someone will hear you talk. I mean, I rarely show my face in videos so people know me by my voice. And I'll laugh or something, and they come around the corner. I thought I recognized that laugh. Holy shit, it is you, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it's so weird, because, I mean, I don't see myself as a celebrity or whatever you want to call it, but that's how they act, you know?
Yeah. I've had the same thing. They recognize my voice, or, you know, they'll recognize my... I do show my face in a lot of videos. I go back and forth on a little bit of playing I do there. You know, some recognize my face, some recognize my voice. You know, one guy says, "Oh, I thought you were taller." The next guy says, "I thought you were shorter." You know, everybody has their conception of how you look and stuff. I know what made my wife, her eyes rolled in the back of her head, is I've actually had my picture taken with people before, and they're like, "I can't believe my wife doesn't want to have her picture taken with me, and strangers want to have their picture taken with me."
That's to say, it's always the really funny thing, like when I sell grain and I have these hired companies that show up in the yard, and you give directions or whatever, and they come in the yard and they're like, "Holy, I know this yard!" Like, so, well, then I don't need to explain to you where to go then, I guess. It's always kind of
now
makes
we've
you laugh,
ranted off course a little bit. We can go back to Nick and a little bit of your story on how you got to where you are now between YouTube and farming.
Yeah, but where did we even leave off at on that? It's been such a tangent here.
The dandelions of your grandpa's neighbors.
Yeah, okay, well, that's whatever, a neighbor with his organics here, but I was about 14 when I rented that first half. And as I should say, people are going to, well, where did you get the money to be renting land at 14? When I was 11, I got 50 chickens, Leghorn chickens, and I would raise them for meat, and I went from 50 to 150 to getting 2 batches of 150 at a time. And I'd raise and sell them just for cash to neighbors. And when I was 14 like that as well, or that summer, I bought a 970 case tractor and an 8380 case haybine, and I bought a 3650 case softcore, which is a new idea like what Dallas has there. And I actually went custom haying. I did that for years and years. That 970 I only had hit, funny enough, for about 3 weeks, because the hydraulic pump on it was junk. And
kind of matches the rest of them 70 series tractors.
I was gonna say, I hate Case. I'm sorry, I hate Case. I bought that thing because it was cheap as borscht at an auction sale, and no one else wanted it. I paid $2,500 for it. It was a standard, so that was its one saving grace. And I traded it off for a 1086, which is, everybody else who knows me, that's probably my second most hated machine. So, and I ran that 1086 with Dad's 1586 on those haybines and baler for, oh God, 5, 6 years, 7 years I did that. I remember I just hung flyers up in bars and grocery stores and stuff for haying, and guys would phone and I'd answer and whatever, get directions, and I'd show up there after school with the tractor and a haybine and get out, and they're like, You're the guy doing it? It's like, yeah. Well, how old are you? Well, 14. Oh, you're young. Well, I'd do the job, and I must have done good, because that same guy had me back for, he had me cut his hay again for him this year, and that was his last year of farming, actually, so I mustn't have done too bad there all those years ago, so... But that's what kind of got the bankroll going for renting that. And then I believe when I was 18, like I was in grade 12 yet, and Grandpa Guy here on Dad's side, he got dementia in 2011. So the homeland got rented out, and Grandma knew that I was going to farm. She knew that's what I wanted to do. So everything was just kind of on a year-to-year thing with who it was rented to. And I wanted to rent before I was out of high school. and I really had to twist Grandma's arm to rent me that land. She's like, I don't want to rent it to you because I don't want you dropping out of school. So I had to pinky promise with Grandma, if I got the land, I finished my grade 12. So I finished high school and got a half section from her at home here, and then oh geez, the machinery of Grandpa's, like, since this is where I lived, the stuff of Grandpa's geese here, stuff at home, most of that machinery sat for 3-4 years, like the air seeders and stuff, and I was using Grandpa Henry's machinery to do the stuff that I was renting from him. Like, these two farms are what the heck are they now, 24 miles apart, so give a little bit of context for so people know what happened to the machinery. I guess it just kind of sat where it got parked because I didn't need it, and didn't really know if I was going to have to buy it or whatever, and how things went on. So how did that go?
That's
now
some head down, ass up attitude getting the work done, I have to say, at 14. I mean, when I was that age, I couldn't find my ass with both hands. Nevertheless, custom day.
Never had any interest in going out and partying or hockey or anything like that. Everybody at school, whatever they kind of, well, what are you? You're pretty frickin' boring. You don't do nothing. I was like, yeah, well, this is the worst part of my life, is sitting in this building, because you'd be at school like that. And I remember, it must have been grade 11, and farming that bit of land, and I'd go to school till noon, and then I'd leave for the afternoon. I got so many funny stories, we're going to run out of time here. But
fire away.
My history teacher, he corners me. Are you ever going to effing show up to my class? Because he figured I was always just skipping because it was him. I was like, well, when I get done combining or it's raining or whatever, yeah, I'll come. Well, you better effing make sure you have all your work done, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, whatever, it's history. I love history, so I wasn't too worried about it. So, whatever, get harvest done and finish the course there, History 20, I think it was, and end of the year comes, and I had, I think, 98% on the report card, and I said to him, so, remember when you give me shit for missing your class there? Yeah, I won't bother you anymore. And then, like hauling grain, I'd take a loaded 3-ton to school with me in the morning, because that was when Viterra was still open in town. They're long since disappeared now, but I'd take a loaded...
I'm going to cut in there, Nick. That was the flood that kind of took out the rail line there, was it not?
Yes, well, that elevator was already... 14 washed out the tracks, and that was their big driving force to shut it down. But even for a couple years before that, they already weren't taking quite a few grains, and most of it was getting hauled out by Super B already. They weren't even bringing trains in anymore, because that line and everything was just getting to be pretty poor shape, and that was kind of the end of the line too. Like, they had pulled the tracks that went through walk-up and everything, so it was already a dying elevator. But
was that a wooden crib elevator like what we have?
Yeah, with a big annex, but then they also had... Tyler, do you remember, was there 5 or 6 of those big, probably,
there was
300,000 bushel bins? So
no, they weren't 300,000. I think there was 6 of them. They're actually at the Hutterite colony, not too far away from me now.
Yeah, I knew the colony. Whatever they were big bins though. But
yeah, they moved that elevator in there actually. Mom can remember it going by on the highway.
Too? Oh, that's cool.
Well, no. The elevator didn't go to the colony. I got video of that thing falling down. They tore that sucker down.
Oh, the bins went.
Yeah, the elevator came from walk-up, right?
Yes.
It was walk-up.
No, the elevator... Well, you know what? Maybe it was the UGG that got moved. Because there used to be 4 or 5 elevators in Redvers. One of them might have got moved. I know the Viterra got tore down, though. But...
Are you going to let me leave that Redvers in, Nick?
What was that?
You said Redvers. Are you going to let me leave that in, or do I need to cut that out?
We can keep that in there. That provides a little bit of context there. So, Yeah, but no, anyways, I was saying he'd bring a loaded truck into school with me there. And I remember I'd usually go at noon because you'd get, 45 minutes, an hour for dinner. So I'd take my lunch with me in the old tan 3-ton, and I'd go dump a load of grain, eat my sandwich. Well, the one day I got there and friggin' lineup. And I was 20 minutes late getting back to school. Whatever, get into class, and another teacher that didn't think too highly of me and tried to tear a strip off of me for being late said, "Oh, I was hauling grain." "Oh, yeah, as if you were, as if, blah, blah, blah." So I got up, left, walked back out, and I walked a little ways down the street to where I had the truck parked because I wasn't bringing it all the way into the school parking lot.
Getting scale ticket, I betcha.
Grabbed my scale ticket, and I walked back in, and I slapped it down on the desk in front of her, and I went and sat down. Never said a word again after it. Like try and give a guy shit for doing work. Like,
but that's, you are such an exception to the norm. I guess I'd say I was the norm. If I was gone, I was effing around doing something stupid.
Yeah.
You were actually working. So they're thinking it was me. I broke all them teachers in for you.
Yeah.
I would have been screwing around, hanging out with buddies, just basically skipping school just to, do my teenage stuff.
One best friend, Antoine, their old A-Train. I mean, he was in the YouTube videos for years. Him and I farmed together for quite a while and whatever. So, like I said, when I was doing all that haying, he was my hired man. Like, I was paying him, I think, $15 an hour to run one or the other for me. So the crew of 14-year-olds with no license driving this old pickup truck down the back roads to wherever I had the machinery at so we could go make hay for guys. So back in the good old days. So but
good old days. You're 27.
Oh yeah, but that's 15 years ago, 13 years ago, so that's a long time yet. So.
Yeah.
But
you're 28, Nick, are you not? You're younger than me, and I'm 30 this year.
Well, I'm 27. What year were you born?
95.
Well, you're not. Oh yeah, you would be. Yeah, so I'm 96 March. So
you're 28 right now. You'll be 29 this year.
Yeah. There you go. I don't know.
Your birthday's a day after mine.
Well, would you look at that, eh?
Or you're a day before, or something.
March 25th. So
25th.
Just to put a little
25th.
context in here. I graduated in 95.
Yeah, see, this is the old man of the group here, so...
Yeah.
The wise one.
Yes.
Keep the young guys in line.
Said no one ever that I am the wise one.
Well, you heard it here first.
Heard it here
first. Podcast.
No.
South Sask Farmer.
Yep.
Shoot.
Well, I was thinking back to the cattle and making hay there. I always say, if you're working on the two worst days of the year, the hottest day and the coldest day, you're working for a cow. Because that is, I've always thought when we had cattle, if it's the hottest day, we're making feed. And if it's the coldest day, you're feeding that feed.
Yep. And it was hot, because that bloody 1086, 9 times out of 10, that frickin' air conditioner wouldn't work. And I don't know if Dallas has had much time in one. I know Tyler hasn't, but those stupid windows they have in those tractors are about as useful as Dobie's ours. They open behind you and only about 2 inches wide, so you couldn't even get a warm breeze on you. So,
well, I cut my teeth on a 970, a 1070, a 1370, and a 2670. So I am well equipped with running cased junk.
Yeah. Tyler's gonna lead this
feel like
conversation.
I'm being singled out here.
Well, there was lots of case on this farm too, till Grandpa finally got wise and got a 4630. But
and that's another story we can go into there, Nick. Your first John Deere tractor that you bought yourself, as you told me, it was a 4440, and it sat for a number of years before you got to it. You care to share that story?
Yeah, well, it was a tractor that I actually drove by, just about every day on the way to school. It sat in a tree row. And always wanted it, but had no money. And, usually a tractor in a junk row is there for a reason. So never really thought too much of it and had that 1086, and finally that 1086 pushed me too far one day, and I said, you know what? I'm done with this thing. And I pulled the pin on it, and I parked it behind the bins where I couldn't see it. And I called up the guy who owned that tractor. It took me half a day to get his phone numbers. I had to phone this guy, to phone that guy, to phone this guy, to finally get a hold of him. So asked him what the deal was on it. And it was parked because of a bad head gasket. They had took it in and got a quote, and they just didn't want to fix it, I guess, which is kind of funny because, I mean, the money on that farm was never really an issue, so I think they just said, you know, to hell with it, we'll get something newer. And that's where it got parked, and of course it was right by a road, so the front wheels got stolen, and all the shields, the alternator, the starter, it was pretty well stripped down to nothing. And asked him, like, well, what would you want for it? And he was like, well, I don't even know if it runs. I said, well, even if it doesn't run, I said, I'll take it, because I can get an engine out of a combine or something to put into it, right? So he's like, well, you go down there and see if it'll run, and we'll think of a price. So Dad and I pulled the couple 6-volt batteries out of the 5020 at home here, and went over to that 44, and thankfully, since they had brought it to the dealership to get a quote and the head gasket was bad, they drained the coolant. So all that coolant didn't run into the oil pan or down on top of a cylinder and frick the motor that way.
Sitting there would have just messed it up, sitting there.
Yeah, so it just sat there dry at least. So we thought, well, we don't need coolant in it to see if it'll run. So we pulled the dipstick, and it had some nice black crude oil in it. So I thought, well, that's better than no oil. Hooked the batteries up, and the key was gone. So come home, took the key out of the 5020, because, you know, nice thing about the John Deeres, they're easy to steal because they all have the same key.
Yeah, same key will work in your 9600.
Exactly, yeah. Stuck the key in it, and I wish I was videoing, because that would have been the best video I ever had on my channel. Tractor sitting there, no front wheels, tree growing up between the axle. I hit that key, and it was like that tractor got shut off 10 minutes before. Bam! And it was running. So, killed it, topped it off with coolant, stuck a pair of crappy old tires on that we had kicking around, and put it in gear and drove it out of that hole. And I drove it 10 miles home, filled it full of Bar's leak, and it sealed up that head gasket, and I bailed for the rest of the fall, and I went and broke 200 acres of hay with it. Put it in the shop, and then I went through that tractor from one end to the other. Every part of it is new except the transmission, because, well, John Deere transmissions never need to get worked on, so...
And next episode on YouTube.
Yeah.
4440, drop the transmission.
Well, that tractor I've actually had split on the channel more than any tractor I have, for stupid reasons. We had done all that work to it, totally rebuilt it, and put it all back together and used it for a day. And I still think it was a faulty engine kit I was given, but the John Deere in town, I should say their name because I've ran them into the dirt 100,000 times, but we don't need to get them after you guys too, so... I swear it was a faulty kit, but they wouldn't stand behind it, of course, so I had to eat it. And it spun a bearing and screwed up the crankshaft, so I had to find another crankshaft, and I got one out of an 8440. 8440 is articulated 4-wheel drive, not 2-wheel drive. Well, whatever, that's the same motor and everything, it'll be fine. Stuck that crankshaft in it, put the tractor all back together, fired it up. I had no steering and no brakes. What the hell is going on? Got thinking about it. On a 2-wheel drive, there's a little shaft that goes from your rear diff into your crank into a key. Looks like a little hexagon. And that drives your charge pump in the transmission. Well, obviously on a 4-wheel drive, you can't have a little shaft through the diff into the engine to run that pump. I had to split it again because that crank I put in didn't have that little drive in it. So I had to drive that little piece out of my old crank and put it back in, put it all back together, and then it was good. I was so mad, I was ready to start crying. That was all on me. I just wanted it back together to get it to work, and I never even offered it a thought to do that, right?
To have both cranks laying on the shop floor and do a side-by-side, it just gets missed. Yeah,
well, see, and I took the old crank into Regina to see if it could be salvaged, but it was fricked, so I just had it outside laying in the snowbank, so I never even put the new one beside it. I just phoned the wrecker and told them what I had, and they said this'll work, so picked it up and slammed it together, but... and then we were doing hay on shares for a guy, and I started making engine oil and losing... I started making hydraulic oil and losing engine oil. Okay, rear main seal is gone. And the guy was out there, so it was probably, 7 o'clock in the morning when I was servicing the tractor up for the day, and the landowner was there and seen what was going on, and I told him and said, I'm going to have to take this tractor home and fix it, so drained a little bit of hydraulic oil out and put some fresh engine oil in it. And, I wasn't making a lot of oil, but it was enough that you couldn't run it anymore, right? So I drove the 44 home, got home here 8 o'clock in the morning. Antoine and I had the tractor split by noon with the rear main seal off, cannonballed up to Mooseman. They had parts in it, the John Deere. Got home here by 1, hammered it back together, and that tractor was back there baling at 4 o'clock that afternoon. And landowner comes out and he's like, I didn't know you had 2 of these tractors. I said, I don't. You fixed it already? I said, I've had this tractor apart enough times, I'm getting pretty fast at it, unfortunately.
I don't know if that's something you want to be proud of being fast at or not.
Well, that should be a bragging right, though. I mean, that you can have a rear main seal out and apart and the tractor back baling in the same day.
It's a testament to how well designed them tractors are. Yeah, you should never have a part failure, but that's going to happen. But if you have a tractor design that you can split apart, do that work to it, and get it back together, it's a testament to how good the tractor's built and to how, proficient you are as a mechanic. And,
Well, I don't know about the mechanic part, because the rear main seal going out was my own fault again. Because if we loop back to the beginning of the story with the crankshaft, I just hammered that. It was a brand new rear main seal. Took it apart because that crank screwed up, and I reused it on that new one. Well, it lasted about 1.5 years, and then it let go. I should have just put a new one on it, but I didn't have a new one there in the shop, and I wanted that tractor out, so...
Yeah.
But, oh well, live and learn. So that was 5-6 years ago now, too, and still holding on, so...
And she's a beauty tractor. I've watched many videos with that tractor cruising around the farm there for you. So she's a beauty tractor.
It does. That's one of the main ones. That tractor does all the baling. It does all the bale processing all winter. Does 90% of the work with the grain vac. That's Amanda's go-to. Like if she's got to go out and spread fertilizer or something, that's the one you hear start. It's not the McCormick or anything. So. Yeah.
Old reliable.
And that's another story we can go on there, Nick. A lot of your videos, you're in the shop working on generally anything. And how that shop came to be, I know the story, but Dallas maybe doesn't. And most definitely
right.
Our listeners don't know the story of how that shop came to be and why your grandpa put it in.
Well, I don't know if I've even shared that story on in a video or anything even. I might have...
This is an exclusive to the Bunny Hug Farmers story?
Exclusive for you guys, so
sit down, folks. This will be a good one.
I mean, I might have mentioned it in a casual passing, but that's been about the extent of it, I think. So, this farm here, like great grandpa, dad, and then myself, we've always done as much of our own fixing as we can without taking stuff anywhere. Because I mean, you can't afford to pay that $200 an hour for someone to work on stuff. And I mean, most of the machinery I have, I know more about it than a mechanic does anyways nowadays, because if they can't hook a laptop to it, they can't do it. So we've always needed a shop. Like, that's always been the, one of the focal points of this yard that we've always tried to keep has been a good shop. And there was I forget what it was, 28 by 36 arch rib Quonset. And that was the shop for years and years and years. And then it started to do what any old wooden Quonset does. And it started to sag. And Grandpa and Dad knew it was coming, that we were going to need a new shop. But Dad had already been hit with the BSE, and the cows were gone. And he was working in the oil patch. I wasn't very old yet. And Grandpa was starting to get Alzheimer's, and he had already let quite a bit of cropland go. He only had a section, and so things were slowing down around here. And that shop was done for. And I remember it was late one March, and Grandpa had just went in the shop, grabbed a grain shovel, walked outside into the bin, and he shoveled a 3-ton load of wheat or barley or something onto the grain truck. And in that amount of time of shoveling to a 7-inch auger, the shop collapsed under the weight of the snow. It fell flat. And whatever, cleaned everything up, and the farm, we went 1 year with no shop. And it sucked. Even though there wasn't really any, we weren't really farming anymore. It's still, you didn't have a place to go and tinker or anything. It sucked. And as I said, at this point, I'm pretty sure Grandpa Guy knew which way the winds were blowing. He knew I was wanted to farm. Like, that was what I was gonna do. And he knew he wasn't gonna be around to do it much longer. And he built that shop. And I remember what he said. He's like, if this farm is gonna stay farming, it does not work without a shop. So he built that 40 by 40 shop. It got finished in August of 2011. And if he hadn't have built that shop, I would have never been able to afford to build one. And I mean, Dad wouldn't have had a real reason to build one either, because he wasn't actively farming at all at that point. I honestly think if that shop never got put up, the farm would be a lot different than what it is now.
Well, I agree about the shop, and for sure my dad will agree. Because when Dad set up this farmyard in '83, he bought this quarter here, or traded some land he owned for this quarter, because it supposedly had really good water. Well, no. Doesn't have good water and not much of it. Not as good as the current well is. The north well's better, but still not great. But so, when Dad bought this place, there was one dead tree, one collapsed well, and one fallen over barn. That's all that was on this quarter when Dad bought it. And the first thing that went on here was a 24 by 36 school. And that's what Dad set up here. Initially, he put it on. I think the school had like 11-foot ceilings, and Dad put it on like a 2-foot pony wall and a floor. So I think we're 12-foot 8 ceilings in the old part of the shop. But without that shop, we could never have grown this farm to what it is now. I mean, that shop is actually, it's still there, but it's hidden. It's actually almost surrounded by buildings. It's got buildings on 2 sides of it. You can find the back, and most of the north wall is not buried yet. But the rest of it has been surrounded by buildings. But without a shop, without a place to store your tools, you get a tractor in, do a little bit of tinkering, do a little bit of welding, do a little bit of fixing.
Yeah.
You're hooped.
Well, I'd say, a shop can never be big enough, but it can never really be too small either. If you've got a heated space that you can work on stuff in the winter, I mean, even if it's just a 10 by 10 room that you can bring parts into, at least, it's better than laying out in a bloody snowbank. You can't feel your fingers dropping shit in the snow. I mean, there's still enough of that goes on even without the shop, but...
Well, I was in yesterday, the world's smallest shop. I would say it was an 8 by 6, feet. But, as a young man there, a truck driver, again, nose down, ass up, giving her. And he had toolboxes and a bench and a vise and a light and an air compressor. And, I bought parts for an air dryer from him. And you know what? It wasn't very big. But you know what? It's damn well better than anything outside. And he had his stuff under a roof, had a lock on the door, it was well set up. I looked in there and said, oh, yeah, it's tiny. But you know what? It is definitely better than anything else. Better than nothing, for sure.
Yeah. No, that's I bought a quarter of land from a great uncle who passed away, and his yard was on it. And I have a buddy, just getting going with farming. He's got a little herd of cows and young family going on there too, and he was just renting a yard he was never going to own, and there was no infrastructure for cattle and just a tiny little house. And I told him, well, I'll rent to own this yard to you on this quarter because I don't need it. It's too far away from me to be of any practical use. And there's that 30 by 30 heated shop that's all looks like it's new because, great uncle hadn't farmed in 20 years, so the floor got spit polished just about every day. And the little Quonset and stuff, and buddy moved the farm over there, and he's like, till you have a shop, you really don't realize how much stuff you weren't getting done before. Until you have a shop where you can work, no matter what the weather is outside, you can be moving forward on stuff. Like, he's done more there in 2 winters, I think, than he managed to do in 10 years at that other place, so...
That shop was small. You end up with a long-term project in there, which, sometimes will happen, but, you're going to have a frozen conveyor or something, or a frozen truck, or, as in today, we drug in our old tanker trailer, and the back axles were frozen solid, so... Had to dump the air on the cab or the front suspension to get the old cab over all the way deep into the old low part of the shop, so we could drag. I could drag the trailer forward, but I couldn't drag it backwards. I couldn't push it backwards. But I could pull it forward. So we drug her into the shop. So she's thawing as we speak because we got a whole little water here.
Well, how big is the working area in that shop then?
Well, the front side is 30 by 30. It's a building we moved in, and the back side is the original 24 by 36. So kind of, I guess you would call it 30 by 66, I guess.
Oh yeah,
that's not a bad size building.
And then there's a 2-story lean-to in the 30 by 30 part that we have 16-foot ceilings on there. So we put up like 7.5-foot ceilings in the coffee room and a bathroom on the bottom. And up a stairway, and the upstairs is just completely parts and junk storage. But gotta have a place for that.
I think you got a bearing roll for me up there in that upstairs right now. So
I got a bearing roll for you in there. And then the other side, in 2016, we built a 54 by 132 that is someday, I hope in my lifetime, that'll become heated shop, and then we'll have a massive shop. But right now, that's just cold storage. But, again, we use that cold storage, when we're doing combines in the summer. At least you pull them in there, and you're out of the direct sunlight, and you can work on them. So,
yeah.
Without that, we are hooped. And then, even we had usually we keep the 3 semis and trailers in there, but there's a kind of a massive grain cleaner in there right now. So there's 2 semis in there in the grain cleaner. Well, you try to open a roll tarp on a 45-foot Wilson trailer that's got an inch of fresh, fluffy snow on it. You can't do it.
No.
So the 2 trucks come out of the shop, they can load right away. I got to drive the town and back just to blow the snow off the tarp. Because I'm not getting up there with a broom because I'm too klutzy. I know I'll end up with the snow on the ground. And Tyler, what's the shop you're building there?
It is an 80 by 168, so it's a fairly big shop, but we're going from about a 30 by 40. And our 30 by 40, it's only got a 12-foot door on it, so a lot of these new four-wheel drives, you can't even fit them in. And like I've said before, I had a cousin who came home who's a Red Seal mechanic. Both Dad and I are fairly mechanically inclined, so we said, we need to have a bigger shop. Like this current one isn't working. It's virtually becoming tool storage because we have a lot of tooling. Like we have mills, lathes, welders, drill presses, and Dad even has a tool for grinding heads, so we have a lot of tooling on our farm.
Well, yeah, you can keep that just as the tool shop. Is it connected or close to your new shop?
It's within walking distance. It's completely its own building off on its own.
Oh, yeah.
Just where our old shop is, it's in the older part of the yard, and where the new shop was, it was a hayfield up until just after seeding time of last year. Now it's become the newest part of the yard. It's been all developed and everything.
It's amazing how even for this yard here, Dad thought, oh, everything can fit in these perimeters. Wrong. We've blown out everything was inside the tree rows. Now the majority of the grain storage is outside the tree rows, and I'm pretty sure if we ever build a big building like a really big cold storage, it has to be outside the tree rows, because it's just how the development has went. And our bin yard in the back end used to be just you pull in with a 3-ton, you unload, you turn around, you drove out, and it had basically had a horseshoe shape of trees back there. It was pretty as heck. We bought the first semi in '99, and Dad got out there with a chainsaw and started knocking down trees. So now she's a straight through at the north end, because he knocked down the trees, and I think he had the old '66 Chevy 3-ton full of dirt, and he built an approach back there to go through where the trees were a little bit lower in a couple of spots, and that's just our yard is just it never stops processing around this yard of getting bigger and better. And then we got into cattle in the 90s, and we had that herd up to 160 head there. And then BSE wasn't good for us either. And then sold out of cattle and then bought more farmland, and now we have 11. Dad calls them his edibles.
Yeah, our yard is much the same way. Where most of our storage is now is outside our shelter belt. Where our liquid storage is, it's outside the shelter belt. And where we've been building new grain bins, also on the wrong side of the shelter belt. And this new shop, it's on the outside of the main shelter belt, but it's also inside a shelter belt, if that makes sense. But
yeah, you'll just work your way up to the next shelter belt.
Yeah, that's just it. I can remember as being a young kid where all these new buildings, well, not all of them are new anymore. Some of them are over 20 years old. But I can remember when all that used to be a hay field, and we got 40 bales of hay off it. Now my aunt, she goes out and mows it with a lawnmower. That's how much grass is left out there now. So
come up with the whippersnipper in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
No, that's the big thing. Is if you don't have a shop and the shop and the tools, and then for me, I'm mechanical enough, but I do have some welding training and welding experience, so that's where I excel. Is there's something to weld? That's what I want to do. That's more. I'm happier doing that than I am pulling a wrench.
Well, where the hell were you this afternoon then? Dad would have traded with you in a heartbeat, I think. Laying underneath of my truck, welding upside down on some steps I made, and told him to weld onto it.
You didn't ask.
I should have, I guess.
I would have told the same thing. Told lots of people. Bring it to me.
Yeah. Well, I guess then that would let me out, because it's not quite mobile yet. So
that's on your dually.
Yeah.
That's several videos in the making. That's gonna be pretty sweet when you're done.
Well,
it's getting there, anyways. So I think tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe tomorrow it should be out of the shop, I think. So
Nick, I got a question for you, and this question is probably going to upset you. Why didn't you just build a deck?
Oh, I was going to say the exact same thing, Tyler.
I thought I was told we couldn't get political on here.
All we're doing is poking the bear.
If you guys want to know why Nick doesn't want to build a deck, and you want to hear the true Nick, you're going to have to go watch one of his previous videos on why he does not like decks on trucks.
I was just going to say, I can't give you the unhinged version on here. I can't get my true feelings across to you in a political manner, so...
Yeah, in a PG-13, it would just be me.
My editing skills aren't quite that good yet.
Shoot.
I like decks. I like service bodies. I like truck bodies. They all have their places in my operation. I have everything, and
Yeah.
Well,
my big thing why I like a box as well. I like how they look, because I mean Tyler might have to get his beeper ready, but it's like I've always said, everything with a fat ass rides better, so it looks good with those big hips on there. You don't get that nice look with a deck. It's just flat. You're in the field and something blows up. Well, you rip it apart. You can't just one-hand it into the box of the truck and drive 180 to the dealership or whatever to get parts. You gotta piddle around trying to ratchet strap it on or put it in some sort of a toolbox. And my favorite is when they say, well, where do I put all my loose stuff? Well, and they say, well, you can put 2x10s on the side. And I was like, oh, so make the deck into a box then. Like, Jesus, I don't know. They all have their place, but
they do.
I just can't get behind them. I don't like how they look. So
I know the one that I have the deck on has a skid tank, a box on there specifically for just receiver hitches, and I'm going to put a toolbox box on there. But the rest of it's just a 1-ton flat deck, so I can pack that right corner to corner back and forth full of boxes of chemical. I know I can get more chemical boxes wedged into that deck than I can into into a pickup truck box, but they each have their places.
Right. Yeah, well, as I say, well, I mean, I got my little orange trailer a little whatever car trailer that I load right full of all my product like that, but then I pull it behind the water truck, so very seldom do I have the half-ton or the 1-ton in the field when I'm spraying for stuff like that anyways, so.
No.
But.
Excellent.
Yep. Oh, well.
So, how are calving going for you guys? You're taking a little break now, I hear?
Well, not taking a break by choice. It's more the cows deciding to take a choice. And really what it is...
They must have looked at the weather forecast, because there's no minus 30s this week. So that's why they're holding off.
It always works that way.
You guys calved through some pretty awful weather here a couple weeks ago.
Our break is kind of by choice here, just from how it worked out for the breeding, because 90% of ours are bred before they leave the corral. Like the bulls get turned out in the pens, but with the heifers and the purebreds, which Tyler doesn't have the fun of that with theirs, it's all commercial. Having the purebreds is one more little element to it, that it's kind of nice having the calving barn free for them, because you have an $18,000 heifer calving. You don't want to be that way, but you tend to put a little bit more time and effort and attention into that one versus the $4,000 commercial one, if you know what I'm saying. When it's 40 below outside, the expensive one gets to stay a little longer in that heated barn. So it's nice not having to rush animals out because you've got another one that needs to come in, right? So
yeah,
but
and kind of what's catching us right now, we're catching up onto the time where we did turn everything out and all our breeding is done by a bull. We don't do any AI. So when you take them out to pasture, you do lose a week or so in there, just because everybody gets mixed up and they got to figure out their routine, right?
Yeah,
So
you skip a cycle, so you got to wait a little bit, and that's just how that works out.
We're still getting a few every day now, but it's 2, 3, maybe 4 a day versus 11 plus. So
yeah,
it is nice to get that break in there.
You'd calve out our entire place in one day. 11.
That's one thing here with the AIing of them too, like that. You have a pretty good idea on dates when you're doing it that way too, versus the bull breeding. But with the bulls breeding in the corral too, it's nice because we're always around. There's usually someone here, and Amanda will write it in a book, and I mean she's usually within a day or two of when that animal calves, right across the whole works of them. So that is nice compared to when they're out in the pasture. You're not you're not really having as much guesswork on when certain ones should calve. You're a little easier to know if someone's, a week overdue and maybe you should be getting the chain shined up or not. So
yeah, and that's another key on this whole farming thing, is having a good partner to work with. My wife is not one for running the tractors, but I can't run this office, and she has this thing just. If I need to know where a bill is or an invoice is, I ask her, she'll tell me, I'll go to the filing cabinet, third drawer down, fourth in, whatever, and I got it. Without her, I can't operate.
Well, it's maybe kind of the there's not much for office organization on this ranch here. Amanda and I I'm afraid, are two peas in a pod when it comes to that. Everything kind of gets shoehorned into a box, and if you need to find it, hey, heaven have mercy on your soul. But as for the machinery part,
out in the videos there, she's driving that tractor, bedding the pens, moving them cows, doing the field work. She's a major part of your operation. Yeah, and raising 4 kids.
Yeah, and that's her. They say we bought that 8010. Well, I only got to run it for. I don't even know if I ran it for an afternoon on our own stuff. I set it, and then I got kicked out. Because she loved that thing. At first, it's kind of funny. She wasn't real big on the idea of it. She liked the 9600, 2188, whatever. But she ran that thing for a day, and that big cab on that combine. And like Tyler said, that the 4 kids, well, usually 2 of them are in school, but then the baby and the next youngest are at home all the time yet. I remember the one day here at Harvest, we were moving everything home, and usually she puts supper in the slow cooker early in the morning when we leave the house, and that way it's supper time. Whoever's driving grain truck just has to stop at the house, grab the slow cooker, and grab the go bag of plates and stuff or whatever, and supper's ready to go. And so we were moving machinery, and it was about supper time when we come by the yard, and everybody kept going out to the field. Well, Amanda stopped at the house here with the 8010 and picked up 2 slow cookers, all the drinks, all the utensils, bags, had the baby, had Maya, the 3-year-old, and then picked up the 10-year-old and the 7-year-old off the bus, loaded all them in the cab along with all their craft they need to bring with them, and there was room for 3 more people yet in the cab of that machine. It was awesome for that. There's that shelf on the back there between the seat and the back window. Well, the kids could lay down up there like a bed and have a nap, and it was just kind of a game changer in its own right, that thing having the cab like that on it. So, I mean, the 9600, that's still a large improvement over the 860s cab, but you wouldn't have loaded all that into the cab of it and been comfortable, I'm afraid. So
you just need to get a New Holland CX combine. They have virtually the same cab. Trade that 9600 off.
See, now I'm going to get singled out here. I was going to say the problem with having the New Holland is, though, you don't have to worry about loading anybody in the cab because it's always at the dealership. Broken rims and fans falling out of them. And
no comment.
What else happened to Dallas?
No comment. Hey. We were on calving. Leave my dysfunctional combine out of this. Never did nothing to you.
It's all right. We can all agree here, though, that of all the combines discussed so far, 9600 still the superior one. So I think we can all agree on that, eh?
We owned 2 of them at one time, and then to a 9610. But yeah, they're good. A workhorse, they're definitely good. I mean, these new ones just devour them and spit them out.
Well, yeah.
But for the longevity of a 9600 and the fact that they basically are still making the very similar combines, I almost agree that it might be one of the most ultimate combine designs ever made. Was that whatever, 60-inch cylinder,
65,
10 rub bar,
Yeah.
10 rub bars. I know we've changed them, and back beater and straw walker combine, besides being utterly and completely useless in barley, was pretty decent in everything else.
Well, if you gave it time in barley, it's not too bad, but I mean, people will know. If you go back in my videos, I used to rag on John Deere combines hard. Hard.
I remember when the John Deere first showed up and thinking, I watched all these videos where you ran a John Deere effing tractor and a Case effing combine.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there's a deer?
Yeah, well, Massey, I mean, I don't care. I'll die on this hill. I love that combine. I know it's an old pig, poor design, hard to work on, overheating, underpowered V8, but I love that combine.
It's a real bugger when somebody shows up with a drone to do a bunch of drone work for you, and the disappearing fingers decide they want to annihilate the drum on your straight cut header.
Yeah, that was nice, and then you get the pickup finger stuck in the clean grain return and stop the entire shoe, so that was fun. Thanks for bringing up that memory.
So for some of you that don't know, I have actually done a little bit of drone work for Nick. In a few of his harvesting videos where it's a drone, it's actually me flying my drone for Nick.
Yeah, that was probably the last 2 years, I guess.
Last 2 years. I didn't do it this year because you finally got your own. So.
Yes, yeah.
But don't worry. You can get one of them hollow MacDon FD75 pickup fingers wedged into return on a New Holland combine and stop everything too. So that's a two dumb designs there. Them hollow fingers and the returns on a New Holland.
Well, I mean, I'd still like to try out one of those FD75s or 240 or whatever. You know, if MacDon's listening, I would love to use one.
Hint, hint, wink, wink.
No one wants to bring me anything. It's almost like they're afraid that when it turns out to be a pile of garbage, I'll call it a pile of garbage. So,
but that's actually not talking about garbage. Well, when you're doing the 860, if Massey wouldn't have overproduced and could have kept progressing down the line of the 860 onto whatever the next series would have been, you know, because they lost all them years of, you know, when they basically went bankrupt and the name got bought and all that stuff went on. The combines went bankrupt. I would have loved to have known, I guess we'll never know, where that combine would have ended up. Because, you know,
I mean, like the worst part of it there was they went to those rotary things that were a claws, and those are a pile of garbage as far as I know. Everything I've ever seen or had to do with them, it's not been good. So it was because they ended up buying white, didn't they? They turned like the 9720 or 90 whatever Harvest Boss into a Massey. One of them was, but then the other ones were those. Oh God, what are the numbers? Like 8670, 87. I forget the number, 8650s, but they were a claws.
They were claws. They were a Dominator.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's not. We had one of them. They're not a big combine.
No, I know. Well, I give another shout out here at Old Straight Pipe Acres. He's got that 106 or 108 SL and a 96 Dominator, a blue one and a green one there. But one's got that V6 Mercedes in it. He loves that thing, but I don't know. I know that the rotary variants of those things were just terrible, but he seems to have good luck with the conventional one. But
ours, we had a Claus, I think it was 98, Dominator 98, and it wasn't very big, but it was a full-blown conventional. And Dad bought that one right brand new. Co-op Implements, I think, was selling them. They're getting out of these, and that was Dad's first ever new combine. Actually, maybe the only ever new combine we've ever had. That thing was brand spanking new, and we drove it home, and it kind of the pickup header with no pickup. It just was the drum, and Dad put like an old Sun pickup on it or something like that, and we had at that time it was a pretty modern new MacDon 25-foot Draper header that come off of our 760. I remember Dad and I in front of the shop, I would have been very old. I would have been a teenager too, and cutting and modifying and chopping and basically making the adapter to go from Massey to Claus. And you know, not knowing now what we should have done with turnbuckles, because that thing could cut below the dirt by the angle we had the guards at. it had no problem picking a rock. I know that.
Yeah, say you got every rock in the field cleaned up
every
after.
rock.
So.
And that was before rolling and all that fun technology ever showed up. But yeah, that was a fun. That's a video I'm going to do someday. Is go through the photo album and every combine that Dad has ever owned, and then myself now that I'm a major part of the operation is what Dad started off with. Because like I said before, the fourth generation farmer, second generation farm. Like Dad started off with a Pull Type 96, and then ended up we upgraded to a John Deere. I think it's a 55, like the the open station straight cut, and then from then and on and on and on. So we actually turned that open station John Deere 55 into a transfer auger years later. Got a hopper and the shape, and I'm a welder. Dad's a welder, and we need a transfer auger. So that combine got turned into a transfer auger, which we still use. But not knowing at the time, transfer auger should be 6 or 7 or 8 inches. You don't need an 11-inch transfer auger, because that's a little bit of overkill there. But that thing can really move grain.
That's how you get shit done in a hurry. So,
so to carry on here, Nick, I got to ask you, how did your year go, and what's on your next year's plans?
Oh, I'd say the year went. The start of the year was kind of a shit show a little bit, but it only went up from there after. So I don't know. The yields on everything were good. Missed out on a lot of very close hailstorms. I managed to blow hard enough that they stayed south, and no, that the prices weren't great, but I mean that's nothing new. So back to being a whiny farmer and never happy here, I guess. But everything was I don't know, good. I don't have too many complaints. I think 25 is going to be better though. Just moving into the new year here, things are just a little bit better off than how we were going into them last year. I stretched myself a little thin there with buying a combine with cash and buying a quarter of land and stuff. It kind of made for an interesting spring, to say the least, there a little bit, but it nothing to do with grain that was sold and no one wanted to pick up. That kind of didn't help things. So
little kind of fundage is never good on a farm, but that's
we've all been there.
Yeah,
we've all been there, and we'll all be there again. So there's no point in getting too worked up about it.
It's honestly a part of farming.
Oh, that's back to I was saying, the nights you spend not sleeping. So. But, yeah, no, I don't know. This year here, I usually have my crop planting figured out by now, but with prices and things going on in the world, I don't know what direction I'm really going yet with some things. I know I'm cutting a lot of canola out for sure, but what it's going to get replaced with is kind of in the air yet, so.
Yeah, that's the same with us here. My crop plan is basically taking canola 100% out, which I hate to screw up the rotation quite that much and not having that oil seed, but I mean, I hate
flax. You can't make money on it, so there's I can't find the point in growing it. It's hard on the soil. You're not gaining anything from it like you would a pulse. You got no straw to feed. You can't feed the grain, and you can't make money on it. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's until they come down from their $900 a bag, I'm not going to be growing very much of it for a while. So.
No, I mean, and that's the whole point. You go through all this work and all the motions and all the inputs and all that time. At best, you're going to break even. Well, I may as well grow something else that'll turn a profit.
Well, that's what I said. Like I like my pulses. I love soybeans. I kind of get lucky here that you can grow a crop of them, and I love oats and barley. If I had it my way, I'd probably only grow oats. But hey, I don't know. If you got the bushel room for it, oats are. I don't know. You sit down and you do the paperwork and figure it out. You get out your pen and your paper there and you figure it out. And oats and beans blow just about anything else out of the water. Like if you can hit malt on your barley, you're going to make bank. But if it ends up going feed, you're not, the oats end up doing better, like, because you just get, if you can get a yield on oats, I mean, it's pretty hard to fail with them. So I don't know. I've never really had issue with being dirty, but I mean, I use some pretty good pre-burn that I put with my Roundup, and I try not to cheap out on chemical too much, because I mean, that's, you can cheap out on fertilizer a little bit, and you can make up for it with extra the next year. But if you cheap out on chemical and you get one bad flush of weeds across, you're fighting that for the next 10 years, I find. So
Here, Mr. Speaker.
yeah, I don't know, that's been my mentality, and Dad's and Grandpa's before that. He's like, if you got a year where money's tight, you can chintz on the fertilizer, but don't be cheap on the chemical, because you're gonna pay for years after. So
yeah, we don't grow much oats. There's lots of oats growing around here, but they mainly all get wrapped up into a bale. But we haven't grown oats for a lot of years. I've tempted to grow them some year down south, but I don't know what I would do if I grew 120 bushel acre oat crop. I don't have the storage, or even dream about having the storage for all that.
well, you could buy a new electric Hummer in the end once you sell them, maybe. So
How do you know that's on my Christmas list?
But no, like I say, if you get that 120, 130 bushel oats, which I mean isn't going to be every year, but even if you get 100 at $4, well, that $400 an acre on something that costs you barely more than 100 to put in, it's pretty simple math in my mind. So
yeah, I can deduct the expenses off that pretty quickly and leave you a strong 200 profit. That's
what I mean. You can get pretty carried away with things and still be safe. Like, it's not like the canola where you're on that $20-30 an acre you're gonna turn if it rains on Tuesday, right?
Well, and then the inputs on the canola, the $900 an acre, $800 an acre, or a bag seed.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, just
that's your expenses are off the charts on, and like I said, when we hit 25 whatever dollar canola, yeah, probably too high. 19, 18, about right. 13.
Let's say you basically need $16 canola if you want it to be feasible. I don't know, and it's just my biggest grief with canola is it doesn't rain, it won't grow. It's just a terribly wimpy crop. It gets too hot, it burns all the flowers off. You swath it, you fart, it all blows away. You put it in the bin, dry, but it's 30 degrees out, and you don't turn it quite quick enough, the whole damn works heats on you. I don't know. I used to love canola, and I'm starting to hate it now. So
it's not fun right now to go through your crop plan and go, okay, we will do all this work, and at the end of the year, let's hope we break even, because that just makes you think that I want to phone up
Ritchie Brothers and be done with it.
And then find a renter and say, hey, you want to give me some good cash for this? And I don't know what your crop plan is in there, but if you're going to pay me that kind of rent, maybe you guys should have it.
Well, I'd say if you can rent your land out for $90 to $100 an acre, that's more profit than you're going to make off the bloody grain. So I don't know why a guy bothers most of the time, but too dumb to quit or too stubborn, one of the two. So
both, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's that chance we're going to get the right rains. I'll have just the right amount. You guys are screwed if I have the right amount. You guys are drowned.
Yeah.
You're canoeing over to Moosin and to see me.
Yeah.
But I have the right amount of rain. You guys will have too much. But there's always that gamble, and that's why we all do it. Man, we get the right rains at the right time, and we don't get too hot, and maybe we'll get a rebound in some of these prices. There's a chance we're going to make some money.
Yeah, I just keep looking at the cows out there and going, I should sow the whole bloody place down to grass and be done with it. But you don't have to spend that $100,000 of inputs to make $101,000 at the end of the year. So there's work involved, but it's still, I don't know, there's way less stress involved with the cows. I find it's work, but if you're man enough to put up with it, it's better money by far than trying to grain farm. I don't know. I find too the other, like I said, the cattle community, like you're getting into the purebred stuff like that, are a lot nicer people I've found than some of these big BTO grain farmers that, they just want to stomp on you and make sure you never succeed. People seem to look out for each other a little bit more, I found, with the cattle than the grain like that. So, and I don't know, that's just my experience. So
I had an experience the other day that I found a world of good people out there that were willing to come out into pretty miserable weather, taking time out of their day to help me out, because we had a little incident an hour and a half away from the farm here, and I made a video thanking them guys specifically, because I mean, when you go out of your way to help somebody out, that's big time special to me.
Yeah.
But on that note, I think we're pushing the timeline pretty good here. We've had a really good episode, folks. Really enjoyed doing this. Huge thanks for Nick Moreau.
Yep.
Morrow, not Monroe.
And
Morrow.
Tyler Jansen for letting me be on here, and
Let's go Tyler Jaden.
and Todd Packer there from out north, or
And the Southern Sask Farmer, if you want to go to his YouTube channel, if you want to see the true man, the myth, the legend, Nick himself, you have to go watch him there. He'll show you how it's done. It might not be how I would do it, but it's done the right way.
yeah. I don't know about that, but I'll show you a way.
His way.
His way.
Yeah. If everybody liked me being here, well, let them know, and maybe I'll come back again or something.
Yeah.
I think we'll definitely have you on again, Nick. We got a bunch more topics to cover that we just can't seem to cover in an hour, and we're well over the hour mark on this.
We've already killed 2 hours here, so.
Yeah. No. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Nick. It has been a slice. So we are the Bunny Hug Farmers, and we are on Spotify. So come give us a listen.